Yep, y'all, we are going bowling. So we're going to dive into that with some special guests here on the Sooner or Later Sports Show. Thank y'all for pulling up. I'm Coop. That's Coop. That is, I'm Jay. That's Brian. It's been one of those days, man. I'm just going to say that. So, thank y'all for pulling up here on the channel. Hit the like, subscribe, notification, all of that stupid stuff. Anyway, Coop, man, how you doing? Brian, Coach Clinton, how you feeling today, man? Yeah, just whatever. What's up, guys? How y'all doing today?
What up? What up, Jay?
It's man, you know, I liked watching that presentation today with no emotional tie to pretty much anything, and just seeing the meltdown happen. So that was kind of worth it for me today.
Oh, I bet that was probably a great time. I'm jealous on that one. BC, man, how you doing on this beautiful Sunday?
I'm good. I'm like kind of wondering like where the sleep's gonna come, because I got a little man. It's my night. Mama's going back to work tomorrow.
Okay.
But the transfer portal opens tomorrow.
Oh,
So, like,
oh, wow. Oh, yeah. That's
so,
a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got a lot on your plate, man. I'm happy to hear that he's home, happy, healthy, and now mom gets to go to work, and you get to have some fun with that, buddy.
Yeah,
Daycare.
double duty, man.
Daddy daycare.
That's right.
Pure daddy daycare, which is always awesome. But no, thank y'all for joining us in the chat. Sorry we're a little late. We ran into some link issues or whatnot. But hey, guess what? We are back in here. Hit the like, subscribe, and all of that stuff. But first and foremost, kind of wanted to, I guess there's a reason to be quote unquote excited. We're going to a bowl game. Yay, we're going to a bowl game. Woo woo. Should we celebrate that? Should we get excited? It doesn't seem like very many people are very excited about that.
I mean, you need the practice, right? You need these young kids to continue to get more and more practice. Last thing we need to do is have those guys not working, not doing anything. But you know, again, it's like, oh yeah, I forgot we were in a bowl game at the courtesy of Alabama, and they've had themselves a tough day today too, or I guess tough 2 nights.
Boy, have Alabama fans been going through it today? It's been bad.
I mean, they're kind of due to not get the benefit of the doubt, right? Like,
and that's a fair point. They really are.
I mean, don't lose to Vanderbilt and a 6-6 Oklahoma team. Like, I mean, it's really that simple.
Just one of them. Like you can make.
Just don't lose to both of them.
Maybe one.
We'll give you one mistake, but two, no, you ain't getting two.
Yeah. Hey, it's a bowl game. You kept the streak alive. Like, look just up the road in Stillwater. Things could be worse. Like, you just be fortunate feel fortunate for where you're at. And as Coop just said, you can't get these practices unless you make the postseason, and that is super vital, especially for a team that is as young as Oklahoma. So this is it's not the matchup you want, but I mean, it's 15 more practices, and you can't be too upset about that.
Especially with, like you said, the youth that we have, because we now have a very heavy youth movement. With once you lose your Stutzmans, from Nick Anderson to Stutzman to Bowman to Woody Washington, you know, you're losing a lot of snaps, and now your focus is we got to get these young dudes up to speed and going fast.
Yeah,
I mean, you're gonna have some young running backs in Tatum and Xavier Robinson guaranteed, and Javonte Barnes if he stays. I'm waiting to see if the Chucks are going to stick around, both Sawchuk brothers. But, yeah, you're dealing with a bunch of young guys now. And the wide receiver room ain't healthy, so it's a bunch of young players. And so since that's the case, the extra 15 snaps are definitely going to be a plus. But, man, I knew that people were going to argue about the 11th and 12th team just as much as they were arguing about the 4th team. And I'm really curious and try to understand how people actually thought that wasn't going to happen. Like what made people think that, if we go to 12, it's going to be too many teams. No, you're going to have something to argue about. We proved it.
let's be honest. Like even at the in the basketball tournament, you're still arguing those last like 10 teams, the first 4 out and the last 4 in, and all that garbage, just to be like, well, hold on a second, is it just because we want them to be part of the tournament, or it's because they have a chance to win it? Like, with this one, it feels like this is the best year for all this chaos because there's not really a clear cut like leaps and bounds out in front of everybody. I mean, you got Oregon, who still hasn't lost a game, but they haven't looked invulnerable. Whereas, like, we thought this might be the Georgia Invitational again, and so
true.
So it's crazy because I do think this year you could get a winner, from a lot of different areas.
Yeah, this is the one year where I agree with you there that you can. There's a lot of possibilities when it comes to who can actually win the national championship, and that's the fun part. You isn't that what people wanted? Did we want actual parity, or did we want parity so that my team can be the dominant and that everybody else can suck? Which one are we arguing for?
Yeah, no, I mean it's better for college football this way. Like, I'll be completely honest with you. Like Coop said earlier, sitting back and looking at this without a team that I cover being involved, I mean, that kind of sucks. But at the same time, this is the most excited I have been for a playoff yet, just to sit and watch. Guys, like Cam Scattaboo, that team, Arizona State, the way that they just looked against Iowa State, I think you have a real possibility here of, if the right team is hot going into this tournament right now, like into this playoff, who knows what happens? Like, I mean, I thought I said this last week in a podcast over for OU Insider. I thought Texas, as much as I hated it, was the team that I felt best about maybe going through this and winning the whole thing, just because to me they felt like the most complete team. And then Georgia beats them again, and we've seen Georgia up and down this year. Like, yeah, it's gonna be fun, man. And like those first round matchups,
those are dope.
Dude, like Tennessee, Ohio State. Oh my gosh,
very much.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Inject that in my veins.
Yep. And they are on campus. Like, that's the best part. Oh, yeah, that's going to be sweet.
I think that was the only thing that sold me on doing the expanded playoffs, is that it would be on campuses. That's going to be fun. Now, it's going to be interesting when we have a December 21st game up in Penn State and it's a blizzard. Or University of Minnesota and it's going to be freezing, or Ohio State, right? That's going to be of interest at that point. But I mean, it's only one weekend, but at the same time, weather is definitely going to affect the heck out of those games. Mm-hmm. We cannot pretend like that's not true, but I like it. I'm happy with the decisions. I think that was very much fair, because even though Alabama, which I think their argument today is that if they need to stop playing tough non-conference games, as if that had anything to do with this decision.
Yes, because the non-conference game is the reason why we're talking about this. No, it's not. Like, yeah, you play in the SEC. Any team can come up and get you any week. But like, let's just be honest. Like, it's Alabama's just looking, because I mean, you look at the field and you're like, well, if you get hot for just a couple weeks, you can win it even with a flawed team, especially this year. But I think it's also just a desperate plea from the Alabama nation, because they need somebody to throw a fit at, because if they can't throw a fit at the playoff committee, it's turning towards the coaching staff. Yep. And this is your first year, and then now here comes the floodgates. So Bama fans are going to be in a spot for the next couple weeks.
Oh, they are. But I like the fact that we're in a bowl game, though. I don't really care.
Yeah,
we're playing in the Armed Forces Bowl. We get to get the extra practices and everything. So, it was a question that was in the chat that I saw a minute ago. Sorry, the chat has been blowing up. Thank y'all for pulling up. Y'all, there's a lot of y'all in here. I'm actually quite impressed. Who's going to be quarterback? Michael Hawkins, right?
For the bowl game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta be, right?
It'd be Hawk. Yep.
Okay, so you got Hawk. You got the young wide receivers with him. So
Extra.
how much Arbuckle do you think is going to try to influence some stuff, or do you think it's really going to be fully Joe John and Kevin Johns?
I'm gonna say this is gonna be Joe John's last time. Like, I mean, this is gonna be his baby. I think. I mean,
Swan song.
that's kind of the way that I'm looking at this from the way that Brent Venables answered the question with how Arbuckle was going to be involved. I think this is really Arbuckle's time to see what guys look like when the lights come on. And so, like, you know what I mean? Like, what's it going to be? It's 3rd and 8, and you need something. Who do you go to? What are the guys that have? What are they made of? You know, getting to know. Because think about it. Like, imagine walking into a room. These guys don't know you from anybody. You're just the next coach that's just come in, and now you have an opportunity to get to know those guys and see what they're made of. It's going to be interesting. But I would say, like, look, it's not a secret. Everybody in college football runs some of the same things, and I would imagine that there are things that are already in this offense that are going to play well with what Arbuckle wants to do going forward. So you may see a rise in some of those kinds of play calls, but I wouldn't imagine this is going to be just Arbuckle stuff through and through.
That was more so kind of my question with it of how much Arbuckle, how much was he really going to be involved with the planning, I guess you could say. But that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we always talked about should we still have bowl games? This is the reason why. Because I think for Oklahoma, this is about handing the reins over and the passing of the baton for leadership. Like, as it goes from Danny and Billy and Ethan, out there, and Woody, on the defensive side, like, do you see guys like Peyton Bowen or Reggie Powers the third? Do you see Kip start taking a bigger mantle from the leadership standpoint? Who else hops out there? Because I think that's it. Because what you want these guys running through some stuff. I think that Arbuckle's probably going to be in the bowl practices quite a bit, just speaking to some of the players. And you kind of want to get people just on some kind of a trajectory going in the off season. Things to work on, what you need them to be the next year. And so I think that's where Arbuckle's going to watch. He's probably going to be a little bit of a fly on the wall, walking around, seeing what people are doing. Hey, this is what I want to see you do a little bit better. Hey, this is, take this into consideration. Also, maybe just watching how the coaching staff that will be remaining, watching to see what those guys do. How do they operate, on game day? How do they operate on game week? How do they get the preparations going on? So he knows how to work with them too once this bowl game's over.
Curious question on that. Do we believe that Brent Venables was telling the truth when he said that they're going to retain everybody?
How about no, Scott?
Yeah, I think it's gonna. To me, it seems like I respect my guys. I'll let that situation handle itself whenever it does. I don't know. Like I have a really hard time believing that Joe John Finley's not going to be calling plays somewhere next year. It's not going to be Oklahoma. But I think now that he's gotten a taste for it, he'll get an opportunity somewhere. And I have a hard time believing he's going to just step right back into a role as a tight ends coach. I just don't see that.
Yeah. And Jay, when Brent Venables makes that comment, all those coaches are still employed. So he has to throw out a blanket welcome statement from the coaches and the coaching staff, because they're going to be working with him, until they're not. And so you got to just, show up and pretend that this is going to be your job tomorrow, and you keep on working. I mean, maybe there is a little bit of tryout still for one or two of them, but I just think that if you say, like, whatever the coaching staff may be, what is the buy-in for the bowl game? Like, how do you keep them engaged in doing their job until they're no longer here? Because it's just a waste for this bowl season if they're kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I think that they need to give it their all, and kind of a little bit of a dress rehearsal for future employment opportunities.
And I 100% agree there. That was the one thing I've been trying to just hammer away to the people, that Brent Venables is not going to fire staff on at a press conference. He's not going to go up there and say that people aren't going to work here anymore. People aren't going to be doing anything like that. That just sounds very unprofessional, kind of tacky. To just fire, to say that, and even answer that question like that of, or even not putting it out there. Because the thing is, if he didn't mention anybody's names when he talked about him coming to work with staff, the first speculation would be that, oh my goodness, he's fired everybody. Mm-hmm. Everybody's gone. They're going to get a whole new staff. So who's the new staff members? And then of course we'd have, the YouTubers and stuff, podcasters like myself, putting out videos saying, Brent Venables said that he didn't mention a single coach. I wonder, what does that mean? So I do think I'm with you, Brian, that I can see Joe John Finley, now that he has a taste of actually calling the plays, wanting to evolve his setup and then actually calling plays for another team. Yep. I think there's opportunities for jobs. There should be a few places. Honestly, if anything, Texas State just opened up as far as OC goes. Yeah. It's always a possibility. I would want to say that these coaches aren't going to be there, but like I said, Venables is not going to fire people publicly. But the speculation is going to continue. It's between that. Honestly, I think it's every position everybody's speculating on right now, from running back room to after when Jonathan Hatton decommitted. That made me really wonder about DeMarco Murray.
Yeah,
because that dude committed out of nowhere, huge DeMarco Murray guy, and then all of a sudden he decides to decommit.
Yep. Interesting.
And there were some of us that, thought maybe that might be, on the way. But at the same time, I think that's another reason why you don't out any of the coaches, because you're still trying to secure up the recruiting class for, 24. You still got guys who are committed in 25. And so until you've had those big, long conversations with, hey, this is what we're kind of looking at. Like, we understand that, like, you were close with, Coach Murray, or that you were close with Coach Finley. They're going to have these orchestrated conversations, and they're going to understand that may mean that some of these kids start looking around. But you got to have the conversations, and you got to handle it. And let's be honest, like you just said, Jay. Somebody would come out and cover, hey, listen, these are they're bagging everybody. So, why don't you just decommit and sign over here? That's an easiest way to not really get into that. Speculation's better than just blanket truth, because people are using that against us already.
Yeah, they kind of are. So, yeah, Brian, so how do you feel about the Arbuckle hire? I mean, I've watched a few of your videos, but now that it's really set in your system over the last week or so, how do you feel about it?
Yeah. Whenever I caught wind that was kind of the direction they were going, I'll be honest, I was like, God dang it, man. Like, Craddock was out there. Like, I'm a Craddock guy. I like his system. I think it would fit well. And I was like, all right, well, if that's the direction they're going, let me dive in. Let's see what's going on here. And this sounds so cliche, and it's going to, but I mean this. The more that I watched, the more I was like, okay, this isn't the air raid thing that I thought it was. And then, I get about 3 or 4 games into it, and I realize, like, this dude's got a bag. Like, he could reach into a bag deep, and there's a lot going on. Throws a lot of different things at you. It's not quite as much like pre-snap motion as you would see from Kodalnicki, like you had at Kansas. But the guy does a really good job of setting his best playmakers up for success. And I think the biggest thing for me that was just super impressive was just how much he changed, like, his offensive philosophy from Cam Ward to John Mateer. Like, John Mateer statistically outperformed Cam Ward as a true sophomore.
Yep.
First-year starter, statistically ended with a better season than Cam Ward, who was going to be in New York. that's impressive to me. Like that. After I sat and watched that and looked at all the numbers, I was like, you know what? This is a risky hire because the name there's not a lot of track record there. It's risky, but if there's anybody that has studied offense, it's Brent Venables. And if he trusts that this guy's bringing the right thing to Oklahoma, then you got to feel good about it. And after I watched the tape, man, I liked it. I liked it a lot. I really like the pair of coordinators that you have under Brent Venables. I love both of these guys. Are young, they're fiery, lots of juice, and I think he's a heck of a hire.
Yeah, I have no complaint of his age. I know some people have kind of had the questions, oh, you're going to hire a 29-year-old. We just watched what Zach Alley just did not too long ago. Oklahoma just historically has done very well with young coordinators.
Yep.
Brent Venables was 29 when he came in as a co-DC. Stoops was pretty young when he took the job, in 99. Lincoln Riley was young coming in. I think he was 31 when he took the job as OC.
And there are some similarities. Like it's not just the West Texas thing either.
Which is so funny to me. That is
like it's funny. It is. I mean, I don't know how OU fans are going to feel about that, but the play design, the creativity, the spacing, all that stuff, like definitely can tell that both of these guys are learning from the Mike Leach tree.
Yep. And that's the good thing is that you see spacing and creativity. I think that's the two things that's going to be critical for us. And I think that's probably the most critical thing in the SEC is spacing and creativity because you got to get creative. You have to take in your mind that when you're playing in the SEC, you're playing against NFL caliber defensive coordinators. A lot of these dudes have coached in the SEC for years. The SEC is infamous for taking SEC guys from other teams and other staffs. They literally have the same dudes constantly revolving around inside of the conference, which means a lot of the offensive guys and defensive guys know each other. So if you want to make sure that you have a chance, you got to get creative in order for them for you to survive. But it's not. I think Ben can throw out there some stuff that's gonna really shock some people. And I think the one area he'll shock a lot of people is his creativity in the run game. Yeah. Because a lot of the stuff that I was watching of his, they run it down your throat. There's a lot of power run in there. And if we keep our strength and conditioning going the way it is and be able to muscle teams like we did in that Bama game, that's actually a good thing. That's what you want.
Yep.
You want to see that. So, cool. As it's settled, how you feeling about the Arbuckle hire?
I'm excited to see this guy get working because it's going to be sarcasm. But that first down in the spring game and that first down week 1 is going to hit. First third down
Jet
conversion.
Jet sweep, please.
He ran 4 of those this year, by the way.
Yeah.
4.
That's it.
But no, I mean, I think like you said is, now in today, you kind of have to come up with an individual game plan for each game. And if you can do that, that's a really, really good opportunity for you to be successful. And, he's a guy who will spread everybody out. He's a guy who will hop down in the I formation. He'll take the quarterback under center. How many times this year were we on like a 3rd and short or a 4th and short? And we just sarcastically, Jay, I know that I did this to you a couple times, sarcastically just look over and you'd be like, hey, this would be a great time to get under center and, do something like that. But we know that's not going to happen. He's going to be, 5 yards deep in shotgun. So
yeah, I think there's a few people that have tweeted that out that should be not even a fireable offense. You should be put in jail for going into shotgun formation on 4th and inches.
It's especially when you're like at the 2-yard line. So, as I've been watching the Arbuckle film, the guy has the creativity. He seems like he's got a lot of energy. He'll be out there, being crazy with the, with the players. And so, how do you, as the new offensive coordinator, because I think that like to gain some respect, you want to show respect to the current staff. You want to be around there, applaud them for, the work that they've done, deservedly or not. But you got to slowly start working into where you got a little bit of damage to I guess fix from Latrell. You need the players to be on your team. You want them to feel starting right now that he's here for you. Like he wants to see you succeed. He needs to be sitting down having conversations with Ivan Carrion, with Zion Kearney, guys like that, and saying, hey, listen, just in watching some of the stuff, here's some things I want to do with you, finding out what they're comfortable with, what stuff that they had issues with this year, and just open up that dialogue with each one of these guys. Because if you don't, then nobody knows, and it's just looming, and you just don't know what to expect. So I'm hoping that that's the case as he's getting in there and having some of these conversations with them, learning the players, and really showing them like, hey, listen, I'm here for you. I want to see you succeed.
Exactly. But I'll say this though, even with the young hire and the disastrous type of season, the future still looks bright. I want to talk about this. We had 2 guys on the true freshman All-American team 4-on-3, and I think nationally you probably will see that as well. Eli Bowen and Jaden Jackson. Like, did we expect that to happen? Did we even see that coming? I knew that Jaden was going to get consideration when he started game 1. I was like, okay. And then when, who was it? Don Williams said something about, he basically tweeted out he's All-American. He said this dude's going to be All-American caliber. I was like, okay, let's see if it actually happens. It's pretty excited. Let's see. Now, here we are. It's like legitimate. We're seeing this in the flesh that publications are giving them these props. Like, that's pretty dope that we were able to do that with a couple freshmen. How are we feeling about this?
Yeah, it's awesome. Whenever the buzz started coming out about Jaden early in the summer, just like how far along he'd come already, and how he pretty much was, naturally he was getting compared to Stone, who obviously, he's got an extremely high ceiling, but Jackson came in ready to play, and dude has been solid all year long. Literally an anchor, man. So hard to move. He held his own against a crazy good lineup of offensive lines. Just strong, athletic, and he played well as a true freshman. So I'm excited to see what he does. Bowen, I hope that the fan base doesn't get too hard on the guy for a game that he had in Baton Rouge. It was tough. He had a couple of tough plays there, but man, he has been the closest thing Oklahoma's had to a shutdown corner since when?
Sanchez?
Dude's been awesome.
You got glimpses with guys like Parnell Motley, Zach Sanchez, Jordan Thomas. A lot of the times it was guys when they were young. They showed out really good, and then you saw the decline happen just over the year, and they just seemed to get worse. It seemed like Eli, like when you were playing LSU and that they've got a bevy of wide receivers, and you're playing Alabama and they've got Ryan Williams, and you've got this freshman shadowing the best wide receiver, not just playing well against him when he gets lined up, but shadowing. That's when you knew, all right, there's a little something different. And, a lot of us knew a while back that the guy, it wasn't just an add-on for Peyton. He was a legitimate, ball hawk cornerback. And I think that, he's playing on pure, just desire, talent, and drive right now. What happens when he starts getting comfortable? That's what we're going to be excited to see this next year is, does he continue to progress? Does Valai actually work with him and get him to be a different level to where he is, potentially, an all-SEC selection next year?
Mm-hmm. Yep. They both can put themselves in that position, and I'm hoping Peyton can follow his little brother's footsteps and get that next leap and be like the dude that really anchors that strong safety spot with him and other young safeties. If Robert Spears Jennings comes back, that would be huge. rotating with him and Boganowski, and then Reggie Powers the third, rotating him, between, I guess, Strong and probably Cheetah. I know he played some Cheetah this season. And so you'll have him and Dolby at your Cheetah roles rotating.
Hardy will be in there too.
And Hardy.
Yeah, Hardy's
more of a free, isn't he?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I
secondary has an immense ceiling.
Yeah, it really is. I'm excited about that. Then bringing in the young guys at corner to go along with what we're doing there. Oof. It's going to be physical and dirty. Anyway, Portal. Thank y'all for pulling up. Hit the like button. New to the channel, subscribe, rate us, review us, give us 5. We had some big time Portal entries since the last time we went live. We talked about the Nick Anderson one here when we went on. But the biggest one was our number 1 wide receiver in yards and receptions hit the portal. And all of y'all lost your minds. Bauer Sharp. Look, I'm going to be honest. Bauer wasn't the greatest. Bauer did everything he was asked. That I appreciate. Yep. He was put in some very crummy situations. And I thought Bauer could be really good if he became your 4th or 5th option. Making him your number 1, malpractice.
Yep.
That was malpractice. But it also seemed like that was where the comfort zone was. It felt like Jackson Arnold was comfortable with him more than anybody else. And the question is, why was Jackson more comfortable with him than anyone else? That's what it felt like to me. But I thought that you keep him, you develop him as a 2nd or 3rd tight end with other tight ends that you have. He's got the athleticism to do some stuff. He made some pretty good catches. I mean, he dropped that touchdown that would have had us 31-3 against Bama, but that's okay. Bama missed out on that Ryan Williams touchdown. That was ridiculous. And they got hoodwinked on that. But I wasn't that low on Bauer like everybody else.
I'll be completely honest. I really liked Bauer Sharp coming in. I was super high on the guy whenever they landed him. And I still believe he's going to have a successful career as a tight end at the college level. The problem is he was grossly misused at Oklahoma.
Oh, he was abused. It was malpractice.
Awful. The guy, literally, you split him out as a tight end and have him run routes over the middle of the field, which they only did pretty much against Ole Miss. That's like the only time I can remember him catching anything over the middle all year long.
Beginning of the season in the non-cons, he did catch a lot of passes across the middle. That was about the only time.
Yeah, and then they got away from it. I mean, the guy, he's strong, he's athletic, and he can move. He's a big target, dude. It's not that hard, and he was absolutely used the wrong way. There is no reason why a guy his size, I don't care if he played quarterback in a past life or not, dude should not touch the football behind the line of scrimmage, moving laterally. That's just not how you use a guy like that. And obviously he was put in a lot of bad situations. But yeah, I mean, look, you've got to get out there and find somebody that can be an inline tight end for you. You're in the SEC. You need somebody that can really help block those absolute monsters, the aliens that we call defensive ends in the SEC. It's a little bit different. So, got to go out and find somebody that's done it a little bit longer than 1 year.
And even, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and we say all this, he was still better than anything we put on the field last year. And
exactly. That's the thing. How far we have fallen.
Yeah. So, I mean, was he Mark Andrews? No. Was he Lee Morris? No. Was he Trent Rattery? No. But at the same time, Jackson did have some faith in him, did have some confidence in him, did have some comfort with him. He was asked to go help an offensive line, just trying to figure out how to do simple things, at all. And I think that he was just scrambling the entire time. But like you said, some of the play calls, you're just like, oh, come on, like why are we doing this? Like this is just makes no sense. So as he leaves, like I think, obviously the pain is still fresh, but like in a couple years, we're going to remember and throw out Bauer Sharp's name. And I think that, there'll be some people who see it as only bad, and then some people will remember it completely, just crimson glasses and, only the good pieces. But, another one of those cases where it's like maybe it's just better for a fresh start because he's got a lot of work to do, and I think that the jump in athleticism, just overall on what he was asked to do night in and night out, was just tough.
Yeah, and somebody mentioned in here, I miss Braden Willis. We all do, believe me. But if we're gonna chase somebody, you need to chase one of these Mackey Award semifinalists,
Yep.
Tanner. That's the guy I would love to get my hands on.
That's the one.
Him right there.
Yep.
And
All 6'7", 92 receptions of him would be great.
92. He caught the ball 92 times. Like he was used that much.
Yep. I don't care where he came from. He could have played at Southeastern Louisiana. Wait, never mind.
Now, don't you dare.
Yeah,
but hey, Bauer didn't put up those numbers there.
Yeah.
That's the one thing he wouldn't catch that many passes. Now, granted, I think this is something that needs to be this needs to be discussed. Because the one belly aching I have seen from the fan base on the social medias has been the players that we go after. Like, why are we getting these G5 guys? Why are we getting guys from, whatever school? Why aren't we getting some players from like Bama and all of that? Some things to keep in mind. I think when it comes to coaching, a lot of coaches feel like if you produced at that level, maybe a little bit lower, but you produce some big numbers, it's easier for that to translate up than for you to get a non-productive P4 player.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier. Think about it. If the dude's leaving Bama, there's probably a reason why. Dude's leaving this school is probably the reason why. Now, granted, this year, this is completely different. Luckily, we've lucked out this offseason because everybody's trying to get down to 105. So it's going to be a different one. You're going to see some good players leave. You're going to see some bad players leave. The thing is, you're going to have to filter through all of them. Like a lot. I think that Tanner is one of those, even from Ball State at 92 catches, he knows how to go find a way to get open to catch a pass. And he's going to actually physically catch it. Then, of course, you got Luke. Now, granted, what was Luke's numbers when he was at
He hit both years. It was right in the 300 yards, 4 or 5 touchdowns. He had about the same year he had last year. They didn't use him a ton more this year. But still, like, I don't think that's a Luke situation. I think it's a usage situation.
Oh, no, I get that. I'm just
Luke
asking.
I don't know if you guys spent a whole lot of time watching stuff from Wazoo this year, but would fit perfectly into the H-backs / tight end role that Ben Arbuckle uses pretty often. Especially, and it's almost like the guy set up on gadget plays a lot. I know he didn't have a ton of yards and catches, but I think like 50% of his receptions were for touchdowns this year. So Has would fit that role really, really well.
Oh, okay. That's the Washington State kid, right?
Yep.
Okay. Let me go look him up.
Number 24. I'm a numbers guy. 24 for Washington State.
Let me go find him real quick because I think that would be an interesting one to look at. Has he hit the portal yet?
No, I think he's out of. I think he might be out
of eligibility.
Yeah,
that's disrespectful.
Luke's numbers. Luke has his numbers this year: 26 catches, 324 yards, 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, I just had him on the.
And
screen.
I don't see anything for him throwing passes or any rushing. So no, Luke has jet sweeps. But I
don't know.
Just looking at it, they got.
I'm pulling it up now. Here it is on the screen. I don't know.
Yeah, just looking at the rest of like I said, usage. You had one receiver with 78 catches, and then you had their second leading reception, 37, 25, and then 26 with Luke Hass. So he was the third leading receiver as far as catches goes for Arkansas, Luke Hass.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you had him. It was Andrew Armstrong, Isaiah Sategna.
Sounds good.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
He's in the portal.
Sategna. Yeah, he's in the portal. He is in the portal. I'm hoping we're going after him. He's one I would like to get my hands on too. Isaac Tesla. Other wide receiver, and then Luke was right behind him, but he was the second. He's fourth in yards, third in reception. So yeah, that is definitely someone to consider. And like you said, Coop, he did not take any jet sweeps. I mean, I don't think he would. I don't think he's athletic enough, but I digress. I'm interested in him and Sategna. That's two players that I am definitely intrigued by. So,
a tight end that never took a jet sweep that I don't think anybody would ever argue was not a good tight end. Antonio Gates, Algie Crumpler, guys like that. Like that's the tight end that you want. You want a good, strong, willing blocker. And, somebody who, when he leaks out, when he gets the opportunity, he does it. Luke he's a big body. As he stands out there, it's a big target at, he's 6'3" and change, 241. Maybe you want somebody at that 6'4", 6'5" spot, but, it's just, we miss how many, it feels like forever ago that we had a productive tight end, but Brandon Willis wasn't really that long ago. We just
that's fair. Speaking of Gates, can we get him? Antonio Gates Jr.?
I like that transition you did there, buddy.
Yeah, that was great. That was good.
I'm just saying.
On that, yeah, that was pretty good.
Hey, he's the son of Antonio Gates, who's a really good tight end. I totally would, that would be pretty. That would be a pretty nice snatch, right? Right?
Mm-hmm.
No. Am I wrong? Am I crazy? No.
I'm gonna pull up his stats because I don't remember hearing much about him, but you never know. I mean,
what did Antonio Gates Jr. do?
We got 4 catches, 49 yards. So there's that.
Sophomore. He's played 2 seasons. 5 catches, 82 yards, and a touchdown his first year. 4 catches, 49 yards in second. Yeah, he hasn't really done much. But he's 6'2", about 200 pounds. Mm-hmm. And he's the son of Antonio Gates. Maybe we can convince Antonio Gates to come here and help assist with teaching our tight ends too.
There you go.
I mean, he's a former basketball player. This is the funny part. Antonio Gates didn't even play college football. Right. Fun fact. A lot of people didn't know that. He didn't play college football at all. He played high school football, played basketball in college, realized that size-wise he wasn't going to go to the NBA because he's an undersized power forward. So he decided to go play NFL and became a Pro Bowler.
I think it worked out for him.
Yeah. Okay. Worked out pretty darn well. All pros like 6 times. Yeah. So he's one that I would definitely consider someone going after. What was that? Somebody just mentioned it. Let's see. Gibson. Is it Gibson? Javion Gibson, the wide receiver for UAPB. Yeah. Giovanni Gibson.
Yep.
That's his name.
I think one of Bama's 5-star guys hit the portal today too.
Caleb Odom.
Yep.
He did.
Yep. He fits the bill. That's 6'5". That'll work.
And he was initially he came in as a tight end, as a 5-star tight end.
Yes. So
that fits. Yeah, that 100% fits the bill.
You need big guys and you need fast guys. If you can have size and speed, that's what you need at wide receiver because you didn't have enough of it this year. I love that Oklahoma really tried with Brennan Thompson. I love that they tried with some of the guys that they had out there. But when you're throwing the ball out there to Zion Raggins, like I get the kid's a freshman, but there's just a reason why there's not very many Deion Burks type athletes in the SEC because it just doesn't. They can't last very long, man. You take hits in this league.
Yeah.
In
every game, you just have to be able to hold up. They need size and speed.
Yep. And you definitely don't want to use Zion as your lead blocker when you're running a screen route to another wide receiver like Jake Jordan, who's also smaller. I'm still pretty frustrated about that decision. that to me was your fireball offense. That should get somebody
Another
fired
one
there on that point.
Another fireball offense.
Yeah, another one. Another one of the many. But no, Caleb Odom is definitely one that I would. That's a tire to kick. 6'5", 230. And like I said, he came in at tight end, and they just moved him out at wide. And it's like, okay. I could totally see that. Yeah, that's someone that you want to go after. What about Michael Jackson? How you feel about him?
Don't think he did it. I think Michael Jackson was set up. Oh, this Michael Jackson.
This Michael Jackson.
You know, it's a crapshoot. Like
He didn't do
everybody, you know, when you go after a guy, you always want to go, well, hey, listen, this guy up at Michigan, he only had 11 catches, but he had a really, really good game one day. I think we could see something. And then you get an Andrell Anthony. Well, then you go after some other guys who had more production in their previous stop, and it doesn't look very good at all. So, like, you know, obviously there's a reason why some of these guys are starting to hit the portal. And what is it? Is it the fact that they've got, you know, a very, very good ingrained person in front of them, and they want some action now? Or is it a deal that they know that they're not better than several people out in front of them, and you know, you can take a better shot at, fooling somebody who remembers that you were a 5-star or high 4-star receiver, and you got great measurables, and so it looks like you're going to help the team out. So, you know, that's going to be one of the things that as this team goes into the portal is, you know, making sure that you don't have very many misses, and if you miss, you want to miss by a tiny, tiny bit, not a complete whiff, and no names mentioned.
Yeah, it's true. That is your Nick Anderson replacement right here.
Yeah, it works. I'm all yeah. I like Trey Spivey. That'll do.
And you know, as someone over there at Heartland, you covered Big 12.
Yeah,
talk to me about this. I watched him.
Yeah, he's a good He's a good player. There are a few wide receivers out there that I'm hopeful Oklahoma can get in on, like Casey Concepcion from
North Carolina
NC State. Yep, he's one. Dane Key from Kentucky. Dane Key and Berrien Brown, both of those guys are ballers. Kind of hope that they could get, but Spivey is one of those guys too. I would be happy with Oklahoma getting involved with him.
Okay. Yeah, I watched a little bit of him at Kansas State. I went to go find what games he played. I was like, okay, let me see what he's talking about. And I liked him in that Cincinnati game.
Mm-hmm. Yep. He's got good size. I mean, 6'4". Yeah, 6'4".
And he's only a freshman.
Yep, exactly.
And K-State's leading receiver, 42 catches, 763 yards. I mean, that is a running team. And, you know, AJ and that entire him and the running backs, I mean, those guys, they took the bulk of pretty much everything. You know, DJ Giddens was big in the receiving game. He was big in the rush game. Mm-hmm. You also had Dylan Edwards in there and Avery Johnson. So, I mean, you know, this is where he looks at it. And this is one where you're like, okay, this might be somebody who what do you end up with? 14 catches, 160 yards, and a touchdown. Like, is it double that as a freshman, you know, with the team that throws the ball a little bit more? So, yeah, go after big body with this one. He's a good piece. And there's been some whispers about Lepak, at K-State too. So does he give you a nice little, maybe inside help, to the psyche of Spivey?
Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, let's see. Who else? You said Casey Concepcion.
Him. Malachi Moore, if you remember that name, or Malachi Moore, Malachi Coleman, from Nebraska. Like, that's the guy that's back in the portal. He was, I think, was it Jeff Levy? I don't remember who his primary guy was with Oklahoma, but they were pretty close to landing him at one point. And he's a guy with size. I think you kind of look at playmakers, man. You've just got to go and get guys to distribute the football to. Like, I mean, I think we can all agree you just weren't good enough at wide receiver and tight end. You've got to get better at those spots, and you have to. It's BV that says your best ability is your availability, and you need you have to have guys that can be out there.
Yeah, especially with all the young dudes that we have on the roster playing. Like, I do think that the young wide receivers we have, like the Zion Kearneys of the world and Ivan Carry-Ons, can get going in time. But you don't want – it's a lot easier for young guys to show out when they have veterans around them that take a lot of the attention.
Yep.
That's usually when the young dudes show up. That's when, like, that's how Nick kind of blew up. You had Rook and a few others that was getting all the attention, and then Nick all of a sudden, boom, he catches 3 touchdowns against Tulsa. You're like, okay. They're not thinking about him. Let's go ahead and try him some more. And the next thing you know, you integrate him more and more and more, and boom, he's putting up numbers. But that's how Drake Stoop leads your team in receiving, because your veterans are the ones that usually are the focal point, because they're the ones that are going to find a way to get open. I want to see Zion Kearney grow into that role. He's the one that, at his size, I expect him to be big. And I'm going to be honest. The 5 dudes that we've lost, I don't expect any of them to come back. I don't even count them on the roster until I see them physically being able to play next season. So it's at the point now that they're not available. We got to wait and see. I can see Burks going pro. Nick's already in the portal. I can see Gibb getting in the portal. I can see Andrell getting in the portal, mainly because they haven't played. So at this point, what does that mean? Now we got Michael Hawkins doing things. I know that he's been posting pictures of himself in the indoor training facility. So obviously he's in there throwing the ball to somebody. So if he's building up some rapport with a lot of the younger players, especially the Zions, KJ Daniels, Ivan Carry-On, and he's getting those guys going, that's your future. You just need to add some veterans around it. Honestly, kind of like what Texas did. That's one thing I had to give to them. That was the one thing I was concerned about with their room, was how that was going to work. But they were able to bring in all those transfers, and Quinn figured it out with a lot of them. They figured it out with, who was that? Bond wasn't the one that he was the most with. It was what?
Golden.
Golden. It was Golden. It was the Houston kid. That's what it was.
Yeah, it's, listen, I'll be the first one to say this, is like, I was not impressed with the guys that they went out and got. But when you turn back at the clock and you look, those guys were all like the Brown kid out of Kentucky. It's like, those guys are just guys who know how to go to space. They know how to run routes, and they their focus is there. When they're asked to block, they block. But they knew how to get open. And, Sark at times had Georgia in a blender last night. And, I mean, Texas needs to go look at themselves, because they should have been up probably 21-0 or, maybe 21-3 or something like that. Like that, they lost that game. Georgia didn't win that game. And I just you're going to have to go after it, because, I mean, though those guys are great, those guys are complementary pieces. You can't go out and, get a kid, who's 5'9", 5'10", and just really, really expect to do a lot with them as a main focal point of your offense.
Yeah. Not at all. You can't. You're gonna need some big dudes. You're gonna need some big bodies in the SEC, especially because you got big corners that you're dealing with. I mean, Georgia's corners, watching them play up against those Texas wide receivers, I was like, oh wow, yeah, those are big boys. They were there to muscle each other. So I don't know, but I'll say this: we've got a lot more people we expect tomorrow to hit the portal. Probably the finalizing, like right now, Alabama's hemorrhaging as we speak. They're seeing all kinds of dudes hit the portal. I'm seeing Florida State seeing a lot of dudes hit the portal, especially now that we know where people's bowl destinations are.
Yep.
We're seeing a lot, but
it's going to be wild tomorrow.
It's going to be a bananas day, man. I almost feel bad for Hayes and them for all the graphics that they're making. They're just
the Hayes picture just from the other day, where he had him, like he posted the gif of the guy sitting outside on a smoke break, just head between his knees, just
Oh yeah, the lady from the Popeyes chicken fiasco. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean,
Yeah.
like, it's going to be worse tomorrow because I think that you're going to have a lot of guys who remind folks that they're in the portal, but you're also going to have. I mean, I would expect 500 or so kids to hit the portal tomorrow, and you're probably not going to see every single graphic because you have guys who just tweet out, "Hey, I'm in the portal." But it's going to be wild, wild west, and it's going to be. I think that we start visits. Don't we have visits coming in starting tomorrow?
Yes.
Yeah, we do have a visitor coming in tomorrow. Donovan Mikulski. Oh, is it McCulley? Mikulski? McCulley? What was it?
Is that the
Macaulay
Indiana
Culkin?
kid?
McCulley, yeah. Donovan McCulley. He is actually visiting. Wilt Fong tweeted out that he's visiting Oklahoma. So he'll be in town. This kid, he's a nice sized guy. He'll be visiting tomorrow. So that's your first wide receiver that we're waiting to see. He'll be in town. He left the team early. He left the team during the didn't he? Like mid-season, like right before, because he's a senior, so he's older. But he left like 3 or 4 games in.
Did he play this season?
I think he played like 2 games, and then I think he played up to 4, and he ended up going straight into the
portal after 4.
Yeah, he didn't hit his 4 games, so he redshirting and he's hitting the portal. But yeah, this is his stats from this season. He had 48 catches, 644 yards. Last season, this year, just 2. I don't know if he was injured or not. I haven't seen anything about him being hurt.
Okay.
But yeah, he's redshirting, and now he's supposedly gonna come visit us this weekend. Visit us tomorrow. He's gonna be one of the first visitors. I don't know about anybody else yet, though. That's the only thing. I haven't seen any type of. I haven't seen anything else said about, especially wide receivers, if any of them's going to be pulling up.
Yeah. Oh, I think, this is, as ironic as it is, the off season or the time between the regular season and the bowl game, and then that and spring practice. This is the more chaotic time of the year now. Like this is the thing that's harder to keep up with. Just from our side of things, because I like Coop said, 500 guys probably hit the portal tomorrow, and I bet that number by the end of the week is 1,000. Like, and there will be by time all of these bowl games are said and done and the playoffs over. I mean, it's just going to be crazy. It's going to be absolutely crazy how much it's changed.
And that's another thing, like you said, it's bowl games. Like you're going to have several waves of this, and that's why this portal's so long. Is you're going to have this wave where guys now know where the bowl game is. No, I don't want to play in the Duke's Mayo Bowl. I want to sit out and start looking around where I can maybe, whether it is you want to go play, or whether it's hey, listen, I think I deserve a little bit more on the NIL front. Mm-hmm. You're going to have that. You're probably going to have stuff happening during bowl practices, because is there a youth movement? Are you a guy who is depended on, or you thought you were about to be depended on, and maybe you don't get in, so there's going to be a lot of different, I guess, little waves here and there. And, but you've got analysts, you got coaches going out there and monitoring everything. I think that's why you establish yourself, guys like Curtis Lofton, because you want people out there taking a look at what's out there. Because there are certain positions I think that Oklahoma would like to get somebody if it's the right person. Otherwise, they just stay pat. And, so we'll see how that works, because you already see, was it one freshman All-American in the transfer portal? That's pretty crazy. That list came out yesterday or the day before yesterday, and so now you've got them already bouncing in the portal, and they're going to get attention. A lot of people are going to want that person, if they have a big need in that spot, and for the kids, you got to kind of capitalize on your momentum, especially if you're trying to get that bump up because you didn't get any scholarship offers from any bigger programs coming out of high school.
Right. Yep, and it's going to be wild just to sit and watch some of the names that are just kind of being expected to get out there. I mean, some of the bigger quarterbacks that we've already seen, but there are some potentially huge names that are going to hit the portal just as days and weeks kind of pile up here. So the good news is it sounds like Oklahoma's going to be in the mix for a lot of them that they maybe wouldn't have been last year. So we'll see how things end up playing out. But they got to get some playmakers, that's for sure.
While Jay's painting his toenails, let's talk quarterbacks because I saw that in the chat. Obviously we're still waiting to hear what's going on with Mateer. I think if Mateer hits the portal, he's probably the number one quarterback in the portal this year. But Darian Mensah hit today, right? So now he's in the portal. Say that Mateer is not on the table. What are some names that you're looking at that you think might be fitting for Oklahoma to take a few minutes to knock on the door and kick the tires?
Well, I'll be really curious to see how Oklahoma handles things if Mateer doesn't hit the portal, because I think it's as difficult as it might be for some people to believe. The guy that you have currently right now in place in Hawkins could potentially really play well with this new
Very
scheme, like that guy. If for some reason they feel like they can't, I think the first guy I'm looking at is Mensah from Tulane. I really like what I saw from him. Now, that's probably another one of those situations where you almost expect him to end up wherever Craddock ends up as his offensive coordinator, but that's a guy I would look for. Isn't there I'd have to look him up. There's like a former 5-star guy that just entered too.
Wegman, Connor Wegman, or was he a
No,
4-star? I think.
Sam Heward, the kid from just a high upside kid from Utah.
Okay.
And that's another guy. I mean, just he's got a huge arm.
Chuck said yes. There's a 5-star in the portal, and his name's Jackson Arnold.
Hey, you never know. I think Mensah would be the guy I'd be going after if for some reason it doesn't kind of work out the way everybody's expecting it to. But outside of that, yeah, I to be completely honest haven't looked a whole lot at the quarterback position. But we'll just have to see.
Yeah, I mean, you got guys like Connor Wegman, who is from A&M.
Yep.
I don't think that OU would have any kicking on that one because we've kind of seen what Wegman is. I don't know that Reed just ran that offense so much better, but Wegman just seemed like a guy coming out of last year was expected to take the jump. Kind of how, Spencer Rattler was expected to take the jump, kind of how, you thought maybe Jackson Arnold would, take off. And it's hard. I mean, because you have those stars attached to your name and you don't get time. Kind of like in the NFL with first-round draft picks. Like, should Caleb Williams be leading the Bears into, play San Francisco tonight? I don't know. But, that's a team with a good defensive, pedigree, and it just looks hard on them. So I don't know. I don't think Wegman is a guy that I would be too excited to hear OU's name attached to because I feel like you limit yourself. It doesn't seem like he's incredibly athletic, and it doesn't also seem like just being a pocket passer is the life that he can live.
I kind of hopped over here into the portal to see who's available. There are 2 names that I like immediately. Caden Salter, the kid from Liberty. I think that would be a good fit. And then Thomas Castellanos from Boston College. If you watched him this year, God, he was fun to watch. I think that's a guy that could play really well in Arbuckle's system. So if things don't go the way everybody's kind of expecting them to, Castellanos and Salter would be fun too.
Yeah, and now, just to talk about Hawkins because I don't want anybody to think like, man, these guys don't want Hawkins. Like, I think that Hawkins running this offense with efficiency would be beautiful.
Yep.
But at the same time, we just handed the quarterback job to somebody this year, and look what happened. So I think that if you don't bring somebody in, it's not good, because you don't want Hawkins competing against, potentially Zerbrook, who is a long-term play and, a body. But then also you don't want to kind of rely on the freshman coming in either. So I think that you do have to get somebody to come in here and create a quarterback competition. I think that Hawkins wants to be here. This is his place. This is where his dad played. This is where his brother's going to be. And I think with all that being said, he will be here. He still didn't expect to be starting this coming year. He expected, 2 years of Arnold, but he also is a massive competitor. He wants the ball. He wants to go do it. If I'm Hawkins, any time that I have free, I am in Arbuckle's office having conversations with him. I'm getting ahead, because if Mateer comes in, you doing that between here and there, you give yourself an opportunity to play catch up, because Mateer is going to know the offense. And also Arbuckle knows what Mateer's strengths are. He knows what he doesn't do well. And so, that's the stuff that you want to, really see from Hawkins. I know that he's been working out in the training center with some of the younger wide receivers, the past couple of days. So he's already kind of taken that mantle there. But I just think you need competition when it comes time to this quarterback room.
Yeah. Competition. It's kind of an old adage, but it stands true. When you have competition, you can keep complacency out, and complacency is the worst enemy of success. Like that's just been proven time and over again. And so, having a guy that can come in like Mateer would be great, but I think that's probably the last thing on a guy like Michael Hawkins' mind. In his mind, he's looking at this as an opportunity to prove in the bowl game. Like, he comes out and, as somebody said here in the comments, if he comes out and balls in the game and plays really, really well against Navy, which he'll have an opportunity to do,
very much.
Maybe he goes into the spring with this team kind of right there behind him. Who knows? So it'll be interesting, but it's until Mateer is in the portal, I think you kind of have to look at Hawkins as your guy, and then if Mateer ends up not, I would expect them to go get somebody that can at least push Hawkins, if not try and surpass him.
Yeah, well, it's a big month. That's just all you can say about it is, like I said earlier, I think that establishing the new line of leadership going forward, the passing of the baton between some of the big names. We haven't had any opt-outs for the bowl. Obviously we've just, it's still echoing in a lot of people's ears that, we're going to be playing Navy in the Armed Forces Bowl. But, I expect you'll probably see opt-outs from the big names. Even though somebody brought it up, maybe Travis Davidson. So maybe I'll give him credit, whether it's good or not. But I saw that, when Kenneth Murray played against Army, he had 28 tackles. And I think Danny, if he decided to come back and play, it's going to be a physical game. That's why I really don't expect him to do that. But I think the linebackers are going to have an opportunity in this bowl game to rack up 20 plus tackles. Just being as efficient as they are. That Army game we played, our defensive line couldn't do anything. They were getting pushed where Army wanted them to be. And that's what, it was 5-6 yards, 5-6 yards, 5-6 yards over and over and over again. So that's another thing that's going to be fun is you get to really just queue up your run defense, over the next couple weeks until you do play that game.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of, as far as Navy's offensive scheme goes, there's going to be a lot of run. They do pass the ball a little bit more than people will probably remember, but this is a situation where, like, to me, if you're Billy Bowman, if you're Danny Stutzman, what do those guys? I really think at this point, what do those guys have left to prove? Is kind of the way that I look at it. If they feel like they can add to what we've already seen from them, then great. They play, but I just don't think that's anybody that's going to be advising them is probably going to say, hey, it's not worth the risk. You're already in this slot for draft pick. I think you're good. Now, somebody like Ethan Downs, I would have a hard time seeing Ethan Downs opting out. Just one, the position that he plays and his ceiling, but like the kid is he's just I don't know. If Brent Venables was still in a uniform, like that's that's kind of who I would liken him to. So we'll see.
No, I would say don't be too surprised if those guys don't all travel with the team. I mean, it's not too far away. It's down in Dallas.
Yeah.
So I mean, I know that these guys. I mean, we all knew that Billy and Danny were the two, the kind of the focal point leadership guys on this team, and so I expect to see that is them travel down to Fort Worth.
Yeah.
Jay, you are talking, but we are not hearing.
Muted at the same time. Sorry about that. I don't know. Some weird reason my computer just completely stopped working on the internet, but everything else works. I was listening to y'all on YouTube, no problem. But for the wildest, I couldn't get to a website. Twitter wouldn't work, but ESPN worked just fine. Really weird. It's just one of those Sundays. So no, I appreciate y'all keeping that going. I like the conversation around Hawkins, man. If he shows out against Navy and does good, I mean, I think he can do good in Arbuckle's system as well. Like, is that something that will people be okay with that? I guess that's the question: is how comfortable would people be with that possibly happening?
Quarterback is such a lightning rod, like just the position in and of itself. Everybody knows how important that position is. I think once people got their minds, I don't want to speak for everyone, but when Brent Venables hired Ben Arbuckle, I think everybody just automatically assumed, all right, that means John Mateer is coming to be the quarterback. So I do think that there would be a little bit of, I think there would be a little hesitation on that from some of the fan base. But if he goes into the bowl game, plays really well, and the entire team is behind him, I mean, what really matters is what's happening in that locker room. And if those guys are behind him going forward, then I mean, it's really hard to argue with that.
And that doesn't also put out the fact that, like, I mean, there's a very good chance that, a lot of people were chiming in, let's bring in Shanahan from Indiana. How about just one of his wide receivers? Or they're like, hey, let's bring in Craddock, from Tulane. Well, what about his quarterback? So there might be a mix and match because, again, Craddock doesn't have a spot yet that I know of, right? So if he,
I think he's going to Michigan, to be absolutely honest.
That'd be an awesome fit too.
If he goes to Michigan, does Mensa follow? I mean, because they got Underwood. And though I don't know if they roll with Underwood next year, they may go after like maybe a senior grad transfer type of an option and just have somebody there just in case Underwood can't Raiola it. It's Big Ten and SEC. We've seen what it looks like to bring in freshman quarterbacks in these conferences, and it's tough. I mean, Raiola looked really, really good early in the season, and struggled down the stretch. So OU is going to have some money that freed up with Jackson Arnold transferring, to give to the quarterback position. So I think that's going to be it. But we know the quarterback, the difference between Dylan Gabriel and Jackson Arnold was not even the same conversation. And now Dylan stands where he's at. He's a guy who is on the Heisman ballot, led his team undefeated, number one team in the playoffs. And, that's hard for a lot of OU fans to swallow. So we just need production. I don't care if it comes from I don't care who it comes from. We need quarterback production this next year. And whoever it is needs to be sitting down there in that quarterback room with Arbuckle, learning and soaking up every bit possible, because I don't care who it is. We just need some. Well, we need to look good. We didn't look good against anybody this year at quarterback.
No,
We got
yeah,
the
no,
job.
we not
We
a
got the
single
job
game
done
felt
at
like
times.
you get the job done. Yeah, I don't think we've. I don't feel like I agree with you there. I don't feel like we looked all that good on against anyone at all. So,
Jay,
all right, well,
I feel much different at this moment than I did when Arnold threw the bomb out to Farouk against Temple. At that point, or when Burks caught his third touchdown. At that point, I was giddy because of what this offense could be, but we still knew that we had 0 third down conversions until the last play of the game, and so it just the bar's low. And so
yeah.
anything's going to be better. But I also know that just going 8-4 next year, that's not what this fan base is going to be okay with.
I agree with you there. And, Alamani has fallen in that, but I know one thing, the defense is going to be fine. I was looking at as like I said, ESPN still works for me. That's a good thing to see. Went in and looked at defensive efficiency. We finished the season at number 7 in the country. Raw stats, total yards per game, like 300 and something a game, 21st in the country. All numbers that we would not have thought we were going to be able to do at all. Like it's not something that we would have ever anticipated that this staff would have been able to figure out. We were able to figure that out, which is bananas to me that we were able to get that done. And here we are, right? Run game wise, let me see real quick. I'm actually gonna put together a video just breaking down all of these for the people, but rush defense wise, 13th in the country, only giving up 105 a game. I don't think anybody would have complained at all if they heard that our defense moved from where we were last year to where we are now. Nobody would have complained. They would be like, what?
Yep.
And let's be
There's
honest.
no way that Oklahoma's defense looked like that. We haven't seen an Oklahoma defense like that since what, Brent Venables was here the first time? So yeah, there's no way this defense is at that point. Passing, we're 54 in the country, 212 yards a game, which honestly, 212 is not that bad.
No,
If you
it's
look
not.
at how bad our offense has been, that's not bad.
And how much is it? How much better is it with complimentary football?
Right.
Because those guys, they still. I mean, though LSU was the worst performance that we had all year long, um, it's not like that would still have been a celebrated defensive performance last year or the year before. You have a complimentary offense out there which isn't handing the ball back every few minutes, and the ups and downs that defense went through, especially in games like Tennessee, where you get a turnover and you turn right back over. Ole Miss game where you're just going out there going, well, we just need a little bit of a breather. Well, Arnold's just got sacked on first down. Okay, Arnold got sacked on second. Okay, he got sacked on third down. They ran the ball and he still got sacked. I don't understand how that happens. So, I mean, it's this defense can take another step. And Jay, I said early in the season, said, what's crazy? The backups are more athletic than the starters are on this defense. So
I had this figured out. BC, question on this one. Put
So
this in perspective. Our third down conversion, 108th in the country, 35%. For our defense to be where it's at, I'm looking at the teams around it. Around us are Kennesaw State, who only won one game all year. Um, we're close to Oklahoma State, who won 0 Big 12 games. Kentucky's at the bottom of this list with us, North Texas. Only team that actually has a really good record that's down here with us, it looks like it's BYU. They're 111 to 35%, but they went 10-2 this year.
mm-hmm.
How crazy is it that we were able to have a third down conversion rate like we are with all these bad teams around us and still have a defense rated that high?
Brent Venables, man, that's really the only context you need. That this group, there at the beginning of the year, they were turning the ball over at a crazy rate, and we saw that kind of that tick down. But I mean, he puts a lot of emphasis on it, but it really is the truth. When Oklahoma wins the turnover battle under Brent Venables, they are I mean, pretty well undefeated, I believe. I think they actually are undefeated when they win the turnover battle. If you can take care of the football on the offensive side of the ball, you're going to be pretty good under this guy. And I think that's a really good
Yep.
explanation for it. Like, and to Coop's point, if you're not putting this defense back out on the field, and you actually have a balanced time of possession, I think those numbers look even better. Like, we're not reaching out on a limb by saying Oklahoma had one of the better defensive units in the country this year. You just said it. They finished seventh in defensive efficiency, and that's going against teams like LSU and Alabama and Tennessee and Ole Miss and South Carolina. Like, think about the quarterbacks that you're facing just in that list.
In BC,
Yeah.
all
Right.
that's some whipped cream on your Sunday with that one too.
Let's hear it.
Is how many times did our defense line up and just know what the other team was going to do? Like, never. Like, they
Right.
still had the full playbook at
Yep.
their disposal,
Yep.
you know, outside of Maine and maybe Temple. But like,
Mhm.
there was we never ran away from any single team. You know, I guess you could say like the biggest margin of victory, you know, when it really, really mattered was the Alabama game. And still, like, you know, it was like 6 minutes left in the game before I actually believed. So that you know, that defense could be even better that way, because if you know that they got to pass the ball, now you know you're sending guys after the, you know, how many more sacks does Art Mason Thomas have if they're, you know, not just running the ball because it's a one score game, or mixing it up. So I mean, yeah, I mean, I think this defense, you put together a comparable offense, you know, a complementary offense out there, and you get out in front of some people. Well, now you get to pin your ears back and send the dogs after them. And, you know, so I mean, that's it. Our Mason Thomas maybe has 12, 15 sacks this year.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. That's a fair point there. All right. We're running about almost an hour and a half. Go ahead and wrap it up. Unfortunately, like I said, I don't know what my internet was doing. Like, literally everything is just,
Hey,
nothing works properly on the upload, but everything down to work. But anyway,
Jay,
thank y'all for
don't know
pulling
if you
up. I'm probably breaking up bad.
before you do this, Jay, Tanya Shipman, thank you for the $5. She sent us a little. It looks like a Nintendo controller doing a little yeah. So thank you, Tanya. Appreciate you.
Love it. We appreciate that. Yeah, it's all bad in my world right now. So thank you for pulling up. Hit the like button. New to the channel, subscribe. Because I'm phone in front of me so that we can talk. Rate us, review us, all that stuff. And we'll chop it up with y'all in a day or two. Peace.